I reported a crime anonymously. Then the confession came back to me in court. I never thought my Tuesday evening would turn into the kind of nightmare that sticks with you, the kind that makes you check over your shoulder for no reason, but that's exactly how it started. Mark, one of my coworkers at the IT firm, had always been a bit off, but over the past few weeks, his behavior had crossed into something I couldn't ignore. It started small. He'd take calls in empty conference rooms, whispering into his phone like someone was on the other end taking notes of his every word. And then there were the late nights, which at first I thought were normal deadlines. But then I noticed a pattern. He'd leave the office at odd hours, never explaining where he was going, always making sure no one followed. And sometimes he'd come back looking drained, pacing in the hallways, muttering things that didn't make sense until last Wednesday, when I accidentally overheard him talking to someone over the phone about moving the shipment before anyone notices and covering the tracks so no one finds the accounts. And my stomach turned cold because these weren't just random work-related issues. They sounded criminal, like something involving serious fraud, or worse, maybe even violence. And I couldn't just pretend I didn't hear it, even though part of me wanted to, because the moment you realize someone might be crossing a line into breaking the law, that's when you realize responsibility doesn't wait for courage. And I found myself pacing my apartment that night, trying to convince myself I was overreacting, that maybe he was just stressed or exaggerating. But the words he'd said replayed in my mind on a loop, and I could feel the weight of them pressing down on my chest, making it hard to focus on anything else, like watching a storm form over the city that you know is going to hit your building and there's nothing you can do to stop it. So I started thinking about options, like calling someone, anyone, but I couldn't do it directly. I didn't want to risk my identity being tied to something that could backfire on me. So after hours of staring at my laptop, I decided the only way to protect myself while still doing the right thing was to go anonymous, to send a tip to the police without leaving a trace, which was terrifying in itself because what if they trace it back to me anyway? Or worse, what if Mark somehow found out and realized someone had gone behind his back? I spent that night drafting the message, deleting it, rewriting it, making sure every word was precise, factual, and devoid of anything that could identify me, describing the strange meetings, the phone calls, the late nights, and the odd behavior I'd noticed, and even mentioning the snippet I'd overheard without embellishment. Because if I lied or exaggerated, I could ruin someone's life without cause, and I couldn't live with that on my conscience. So I crafted it carefully, obsessively, like a surgeon stitching a wound that I couldn't see but could feel growing inside me. And then came the moment of truth, sitting in my dimly lit apartment, hands hovering over the keyboard, heart pounding, asking myself if I was about to make the right call or if I was stepping into a mess that could spiral completely out of control. But my gut told me I couldn't ignore it, couldn't turn my back on something that might be dangerous to innocent people, so I hit send on the anonymous email, and the click echoed louder in my head than it probably should have, a sound that felt like a starting gun in a race I didn't know how to run. And as I leaned back in my chair, trying to tell myself I'd done the responsible thing, I couldn't shake the unease settling over me. The prickling feeling at the back of my neck that whispered that my small act of caution was anything but simple, that it had the potential to ripple outward in ways I couldn't yet see. And as the hours ticked past, I kept replaying Mark's words. His smirk when he thought no one was listening, the way he avoided my gaze the last time we passed in the hallway, and I realized that the thing I full story link below.